Hi guys, how are you doing? Hopefully everyone's doing great. Let me know if the music's too loud, if we're okay. I'm gonna lower it just a little bit. How are you guys doing in this fine evening? Well, it's evening for me. It's probably still in the morning for you, right guys? Cool. So, welcome everyone. Welcome. Welcome to our first live stream in this year, 2022. We're starting this new year world. We've already started with a lot of 3D content. Some of you guys have really liked the past 3D content that we've been doing, the Mash, the Bifrost. So yeah, but this is the first live stream, and we're gonna be doing hopefully more live streams throughout the year. I'm planning on having one live stream per month, and if we see that there's a good answer, we'll probably do more. It's 10:27 for you. Where are you, my friend? You're in India, right? Hey, Francisco. Good night. How are you, my friend? Fellow Mexican. So, any suggestions on what we should do? Should we do a little bit of Mash? Should we try doing some modeling? Do you guys want to see some texturing, sculpting? Like, what topics would you like to see? India. Okay, nice. Anchor is from India, but there's like several time zones in India, right? I know there's a couple of like time zones over there. Yeah, there you go. 3 time zones, it seems. Depending on which part of India you are from. Bifrost. Okay, I have one thing that I want to try out for Bifrost. So let's go on an experiment and let's see if it works. Last year, I released, well, of course, with Nexttut, we released the animation course, right? Some of you might have gotten that one, and it's an introduction to animation in Maya. And inside that course, we have a very nice the final project of that course was an attack animation. So there's this guy that leaps and jumps with a sword and just like stabs someone. And I want to see if we can add like a scarf or like a bandana or something with end cloth and use Bifrost to simulate that little end cloth like floating around. So let's see if we can get it to work. It's gonna be a nice experiment, like I think. So it's where do we have this one? Final attack. There we go. Oh, I'd love to do Bifrost Flame Anchor, but I'm still learning it. So I did take a couple of like I watched a couple of videos this past week, and I'm getting the hang of it. But I don't think I would be able to explain something like super complex. I'll show you something though. Let's go here. So if you want to take a look at Bifrost Flame, remember we can just go into Settings, Preferences, Plugin Manager, and we have the Bifrost graphs. All of these ones. It's important to load all of the plugins, and then if you go here, Windows, Bifrost browser, there's all of these guys that are ready to go. So if you go into the fire and you select, for instance, this like flame torch, you just import it. There we go. Now we have the flame torch effect, not the flame torch itself, like it's not the object, it's the effect, like the parameters that you normally see. And whenever you like go into the graphs, this is how you study them and this is how you learn. So remember, when we're doing simulation, we're gonna do play every frame free, so that we like simulate every single frame. And you can see, look at that, it's the nice little combustion there, and then the fire itself, right? So yeah, that looks quite nice. And here's the cool thing about this one, like this like asset that we're importing right now. Let me stop it. Come on, Maya. Stopping. There we go. I think I like stopped and played. There we go. So right now we're actually rendering. You can see that all of those little things are the voxels that we get from the flame. And when we imported this thing, we also imported a nice little material here, which is this flame torch material. And this is very important. This is one thing that I wanna in the research that I've been doing, I found that you actually need to input these things right here on the surface shader, on the volume shader. You need to input the density, you need to input the temperature here and the temperature over here, so that the material actually works the way you want. Because if I were to, let's say, create a new AI like volume, standard volume, and let's say this is gonna be like a green flame or something, like you might think, yeah, that's it, I just like change the color, I go into my object and I assign the new material, right? So right click, assign system material, and then AI standard volume, and well, it disappears. It's no longer there. Why? Because the parameters that it's looking for are not there. So you do need to input those elements right here. There we go. So now we actually have the material, and you can see like all of the combustion things going on. And this is gonna render like super nice. So again, how do we study these things? Like, let's say you want to learn how to do a what's the word? A flaming thing inside of Maya. You're gonna go into your Bifrost graph editor, and you take a look at what's going on here. So we have a create mesh sphere. Simple, it's just a sphere. Assign gray shader. Okay, simple. V-ray or vary source property. What's gonna change? It's gonna change a couple of things in the source air. Okay, so this one right here will vary the way that the aerial, the air simulation works. We source the fuel because we one of the things that aerial or like fire inside of Bifrost needs, it needs fuel. So you're gonna create an object that's gonna be like the fuel container or the fuel volume, and depending on how much fuel there is and how fast the fire can get to the fuel, it's how the whole thing is gonna work. And then there's the simulate aéreo. In Spanish you say aéreo. I think in English it's like aéreo or something. I'm gonna say aéreo. And then yeah, we have like the settings, sober settings, like with the cloth, and then the combustion, which is how the flame's gonna like spark, right? And that's it. As you can see, it's actually like a really simple graph, and with that really simple graph, you have this thing right here, which is like the combustion when it just like turns on, and then this thing right here. There's a very nice video in the Maya Learning channel. The guy who explains it is very knowledgeable. It seems like a university class because he goes to like really in-depth things where he shows you like the kind of things that you should expect on a flame, like where the oxygen like lands and how it burns and like the little like ash that you get. So it's really intense. I recommend you guys watch it. It's really in-depth. It might seem a little bit boring at first or really advanced because there's so many like complex things, but you get some really cool stuff. Okay, let's see some questions. Francisco says texturing or VFX should be nice. Well, here's a little bit of VFX. Saludos, mi alumno desde Monterrey, alumno o alumna. Es difícil saber con sus nombres de avatars. We can do fast things or just one thing. Either way works. That's fine. Wafi Martini asks, are there any 3D Studio Max tutorials coming into the pipeline? Not that I'm aware of. I can't like spoil what's coming because we like to keep the surprise and then show it to you. Most of the things or all of the things that we do are things that you guys have requested. We haven't had as many like 3D Studio Max requests, so as far as I'm aware, there's no 3D Studio Max tutorials coming. We have several Maya ones, we have a couple of Blender ones, another extra ones that I can't share just yet. But yeah, so there's things coming. Sincerely Yours says, and now I'm making a retro futuristic car for the challenge in Maya, game ready model and such. A question: to do everything with one mesh, or can you make different details with different mesh? Definitely the second one, my friend. Definitely, like different meshes or different details for different meshes. You do not need to model every single thing in one specific element unless the challenge says so. If the challenge says that the final model should be a watertight model, then the watertight model, like the low poly version of your character or your game ready version, you could make that one a single mesh. However, when you're modeling the high poly or you're modeling the big one, you can do as many details as you want. So yeah, no problems. don't try to do everything in a single thing because you're gonna go crazy. It's very difficult to model one object made out of like so many parts into a single object. Is more textile density better or lower textile density better? More is better in this case. Textile density refers to how many pixels are there in a unit of measurement. Usually is a like square meter. So if you have a square meter, like how many pixels are going to be in that square meter, right? By default, like if you were to create like a plane here, and we make this plane like a meter, that's a meter. And we go modeling, UV editor, transform, select the UV shell and check the textile density. You input the map that you're going to be using, so like let's say 2048, which is a very traditional one, and you just hit get. So this one says that you're going to get 20 pixels per unit. So in this case, it's going to be, I think, 20 pixels per centimeter because the units inside of Maya are centimeters. So you will get 20 pixels for each centimeter, which is great, which means you can really zoom in on the object and you're not going to get any distortion. If you're using like a 256 map, then you're only going to get 2.56, right? And that's going to be like really pixelated. So when you get closer, like if this object is bigger than 256 pixels on your render, then you're going to start seeing the pixelation. So usually better textiles is better. Yeah, if you have 400 textiles, I mean, that's great. Just depending on the scale of the object, that's also very important because if you're modeling something really small, like if I'm saying, I don't know, let's say we're modeling a bowling ball, right? And I model my bowling ball like this, like at that size, and I do a 2K map, that's gonna give me 566. So that means that it's a lot of resolution, but because this sphere is super small, it's a 2 centimeter sphere, so it will also play along with the scale of your scene. If we make the sphere the size of a bowling ball, which should be like, I don't know, probably like this or this, probably like this, I guess. If we do this bowling ball right here and we say get, there we go, 28.31. So that's closer to what we would normally get. So real world scale is very important. If you're getting like a really big number, it's probably because your object's really small. Okay, so yeah, that's important. Mr. Man, what's your opinion on the NFT craze that's going on right now? I personally think that they're everything I hate about the art world, but I would like to know what you think. Oh man, so a couple of weeks ago when we did this live stream, I think someone asked something similar, and I didn't have enough information back then to give an educated guess or opinion. Now I do have a little bit more information, and I am totally against them. Like I don't think they are environmentally friendly. I don't think they're an investment. I don't think they represent money. it's just, I don't think they're a good idea. And what saddens me the most is two of my best friends have come to me in the past couple of months, and they were like, oh, they're inviting me to this NFT project, I think you should get into it. And I asked them, both of them, I was like, is there money on the table? Like, are they willing to pay you? No, they're gonna sell them, and on the sales you're gonna get some percentages. And it's like, I don't think it's a good idea. And there we go. Like the crypto market in the last couple of days has taken like a quick dive. You probably saw that on the news. I do think crypto has some future. I'm not against crypto, but NFTs for images purposes, I don't think it's a good idea. I think it really takes away from artists, and I don't think it's gonna be. Like, if you ask me, should I create like a crypto for myself and try to sell it? I mean, if you can do it, if you can invest, I think it's like $100 to mint it or something, and you can sell it for $1,000, go for it. But at the end of the day, someone's gonna be out of $1,000, and I think it's kind of like robbing people. So I don't think it's a good idea. I would suggest artists like create prints or posters or like t-shirts or something with their artwork and sell it. I think it's a little bit more valuable than to sell like just a link to an image that anyone can get. So yeah. That's my opinion on NFTs. Sigma says, hi bro, do you review character sculpts? Yes, I do. If you have one right now that you want me to review, send me the link. Or actually, we have a really hard time like sending links because it's like the chat doesn't let you. But here, this is what we're gonna do. If someone wants to, where can we do it? Or actually, you know what, Sigma? This next weekend, we are gonna have our portfolio review, and I think I forgot to add the link on the last video. So I'm gonna be adding the link on the last couple of videos tomorrow, very early. Well, tomorrow for me, right? In a couple of hours, I'll upload or change the link, and you're gonna find a Google Drive link. Make sure to submit there. And this weekend on Sunday or Saturday and Sunday, sorry. We'll do the review, okay? So yeah. So going back here to the, okay, yeah, I was gonna show you. I want to do this. I want to give this a shot. I want to see if we can create like a nice like scarf or bandana on our final attack from our animation course. So for those of you that are not aware, this is our final like exercise on the animation course. We have this little guy right here, and I did this like very Tarzan-like jump. It's a real time. So he's like breathing heavily, and then he just like jumps all the way up, and then boom, slashes forward. So what if we wanted to add like a little Karate Kid bandana that floats with the air? Can we do that? And the answer is yes, we can actually do that. So here's what I'm gonna do. First, we're gonna create, before that we have one question. What's the best way to set up Maya for creating game props? Grid sizes, preferences, units. That's great. Great question. Super easy to answer. Display, grid. I set mine to 100, 10, and 1. That way, when you create a cube, that you can see the grid right here. If you create a cube, that cube that you just created, there we go. If you scale this to 100 units, that's gonna be 1 meter. Okay, so now this cube is 1 meter, and it fits on the grid like nicely. Each like little section that you see here, that's 10 centimeters. I think this is a better way, so that when you have like a 180 like a character that's like this tall or something, it will fit right there. You can see that my rig right now is super small, because it was not scaled properly. So 110 and 1, it's the one that I recommend. So let's very quickly model a little bandana for this guy. There's a ton of ways to do it, but the most important thing is you guys probably all know that the bandana goes around the head, of course. So let's do that. And we're gonna have 3 parts to the bandana, and I think this is gonna be important. So this is gonna be like the facing part of the bandana. This is what's gonna be around the head of our character. And then we need to add like a little knot. There we go. Which is where the bandana like holds itself. And then we're gonna add the planes. So for the planes, we don't need as many divisions on the height, I think. Actually, on the width. I think which is like 4 or 5 should be good. And we're gonna have it right there. Freeze the transformation. And let's do another one slightly lower. There we go. Now we can of course like modify this guy a little bit here, just so it's outside of the character. And this is very important. How to find correct human scale. The scale in mine is 1 centimeter. Like anything that you create, like when I create this cube, this is a 1 by 1 by 1 centimeter cube. That's default. A human is normally 180. Like that's the average height. I'm not 180. I'm 178, I think, or 79. But that's like usually a human size. So what I do is I create this cube and I just scale it 50, 180, and then 50. And that's usually like a volume that a normal like average human would occupy, and that's how I know the size inside of Maya. But yeah, like units are in Maya. Freeze transformation, that's a great question. So every object that you move, rotate, or scale saves information. Like this cube knows that it has been scaled this much, moved this much, and rotated this much. And sometimes that things or those elements can make other tools like work in weird ways because they take into account the original size, not this new size. So when you freeze transformation, you're telling Maya, hey, all of these things like the position, rotation, and the scale of my object, this is now the basic, like the basis, like this is how it starts. So it's a way to really like to freeze transformation and tell Maya that this is now the new starting point, and very, very important. Make sure that when you're using depth of field on your camera, Sigma, make sure to use the proper one. It's not this depth of field. This is the Maya depth of field. If you're using Arnold, you want to use this one, DOF. And then if you use the focus distance and the aperture size, it should give you a good result. If you're having issues with that, submit one of the files that you're having issues with on the portfolio review, and we can take a look on that one on Sunday and Saturday as well. Yeah, exactly, Ankur. It's like apply. If you're used to the Blender naming convention, it's apply. It just like bakes the information into the element. Cool. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna grab this guy right here, and I need to find Boney's head bone. So, really? I thought Boney had head bones. That seems like it does not have bones. Interesting. Okay. That's really, really weird. We need to constrain this. Like what we need to do is we need to constrain this guy to something, like a point or something. We can also do a curve. So let me show like NURBS curves. There we go. So I'm gonna grab this guy, the head curve, and just constrain. And now when we move this thing around, that's constrained. And then this guy is gonna be constrained to that guy. So again, if we move this guy right here, it's gonna be constrained. Perfect. And the animation is just gonna continue. Let's change the color. I think a nicer color would be a nice idea. So let's assign a new material. Let's do a Lambert, and we're gonna do a red color. There we go. Yeah, if you're just starting rigging in Maya, the rigging course, it's a really good one, I think. We go over several projects and then we do like a full character, and I show you like the principles of rigging. So you're not only gonna be able to rig a character, you're also gonna be able to understand why we do the things that we do. People have said that I'm really good at explaining things. You guys are gonna be the judges of that. But I really like the rigging course. I think it's a really like complete course. So now we're gonna go into Bifrost, and we're gonna create a new graph. There we go. And we're gonna have two inputs here, which is gonna be these two planes. So we're just gonna middle mouse and drag them. And as you can see, what happened there, this is not, I don't show this on the other video, but when I added two of them, it created something called an array, which is a group of elements. Instead of creating just one, it created an array. I'm gonna do a file, and here's a shortcut. We can do simulation, and then npm, and we can do this basic npm cloth graph, and we get this. So this little node, if I right click and say explode, it will create all of the nodes that we normally use to create cloth. If you haven't seen the cloth video, go check it out. Not right now, we're in the live, right? Later on, go check that one out. It's the flag that we did like a couple of days ago, and I explained how all of these things connect. So as you can see here, what I'm doing is I'm inputting these two pieces of cloth into this graph. Okay, so my two little like bandana strips, this guys right here, are inputted, and then they can be constrained to something. So I need this sphere right here. Let me find it. So I'm gonna bring this sphere right here, and we're gonna constrain this to this geometry. So now wherever this sphere goes, the little guys will follow. The colliders, I want them to collide with Ultimate Bony, of course. So let's see. We're probably gonna have to select like all of the parts of Bony. So I'm gonna have to select all of the geometry from Bony, all of the geometry, just in case I wanted to like really collide with everything. And just middle mouse and drag them here. And again, we're gonna create an array. So this array, like this guy right here, has the information of all of these guys, and those are gonna be colliders. So if they collide with the body, they're not gonna touch the body, right? And then we're just gonna simulate this thing. It's assigning a new material, which is just a standard surface material from our node. It's doing the npm solver, and this is what's gonna be outputted. So technically, that should work. Let's save before anything else happens. Let's call this final attack Bandana. Oh, I can't change the type, so we need to save this as a Maya binary. Bandana. Oh, thank you, Ankur. I haven't noticed, but yeah, I'll change the name. Thank you. Yeah, it's supposed to be part 21. Yes, you're right. Perfect. So right click, we hit playback speed, play every frame, and let's see how this works. So yes, there you go. The cloud is falling, and it's following the body of our character. Now those little guys that you see up there, those are the initial ones. Remember, Bifrost creates a new like instance of the object that you're using, so we can actually hide those. And if we hit play, again, you can see how it's animating them. So the animation starts, the bandana falls, as you can see. And what I'm most curious about is the jump. Like after the jump, how those things are gonna look. So let's take a look here. So they fall, they are moving quite nicely. We can add wind, we can add influences, we can add a lot of different things. And but yeah, let's see the jump, because I really want to see how the follow through and the overlap look here. Nice, nice, nice. They're stretching, quite a bit of stretch. That's because of the noise frequency or something. You can see the collision there. Let's go back. Let me stop that. There you go. You can see how this thing is like the calculation. It's a little bit more help because it's doing something really, really intense. Let's keep going and see where it ends. But yeah, this is working nicely. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, the calculation was right. Like, I mean, the thing is trying its best to solve the thing, but it's way too intense. Like, the change is way too intense. So we're gonna have to go back here to the npm solver settings. And the first thing is I need to increase the details. So I'm gonna say 0.015. So it's 10 times more like exact than what we have. That's very important. And then on the actual npm cloth right here, I'm gonna change the vibration speed to like 60. So they're a little bit stiffer. And that way we don't get as much effects. Now also remember that the scale of my object might be affected. Like right now I think we're working on a small scale, but we might need to tweak the scale later on to see if this is oh, right now it's very slow because we are doing simulation Sigma, but normally it's not this slow. Like if I pause this and I move around, you can see I'm moving at 600 frames per second. So usually it's not that slow. It's slow right now because it's actually like doing the simulation. It's trying to think how the cloth is going to be deforming and how it's going to be moving. So that's why it's really what's the word? Really slow. So I just want to see how this thing goes. Then I'll probably cache this thing, and while this thing is caching, we can take some more questions. Let's see. Alan Reen, hi. When I animate, I just IK at first, but when I switch to FK, the rig goes to original position. Any way to start the FK rig continue where IK last position was? Like the whole, if the whole rig moves, then there's probably something wrong with the rig, because usually when you change from like one arm to like FK and IK, yes, it will like move around, and the best thing there is you're gonna have to try to match the change of the frame, because there's two different systems, so it's not really possible to what's the word, to save it perfectly. So yes, you need to like manually match it so that the transition from one to the other doesn't look as bad. But that will depend on the rig itself. And Kur's asking, what happened to Nalin? Nalin is the boss. He's the boss. He's the one that's hiring everyone. So he hired me. He hired Alejandro. He's hiring more artists to do more courses. So he's the mastermind right now. He's in charge of planning which courses we're gonna be releasing, making sure the quality is there, gathering all of the information from you guys, like your opinions and the kind of things that you want to see, like all of the stuff. Oh my god, there we go. So it's looking a little bit better. It's a lot of force. I think the animation looks a little bit too intense right now, and we will need to tweak the values so that this thing looks a little bit nicer. But as you can see, just changing those two values, it's looking a lot nicer, like a lot nicer, and we're not getting like those weird effects that we had. And look at that, like imagine trying to animate those things, like that thing happening right there. That would be really tricky, right? So that's why simulation plays such an important role. If you guys have seen like the latest like Pixar movies, you know the characters in those movies are usually wearing like dresses and shirts and stuff, and they do need to do simulation, because otherwise like hand animating all of that stuff, it's really complicated. So yeah, I'm gonna pause this real quick. Like I can see that it got better, like the animation got better, the caching got better. But yeah, that's the downside, and that's one of the reasons why I don't like doing BFX as much, because it takes time. It takes a lot of time, and you need a lot of like processing power to see things like fast. So it's like tweak settings, wait 5 minutes for the cache, tweak more settings, wait 5 minutes, and just keep going until you get like what you want. Once you get the proper like behavior that you want, then we're golden. But yeah, as you can see here, this one is getting crazy. Let's see. Wilfred, can you make a course on procedural shading in Arnold? What do you mean by procedural shading, my friend? Procedural, like I know what you mean, but what kind of content are you like this sort of stuff, or like this sort of stuff? Because one of the reasons why procedural was so strong a couple of years ago was because we didn't have the powerhouses on our computers or the resources to use like super big maps. So if you wanted to do like a statue made out of bronze and just like a rusted bronze, procedural texturing was really good. But nowadays, with like Substance Painter, Substance Designer, all of this super amazing like tileable materials that we have, I haven't used procedural texturing in a long time, so that's why we don't have that one on the pipeline. But if there's like specific, oh, you want to learn the nodes of Arnold, okay, that's different. Because one thing, again, it's textural, like a procedural texturing, which is trying to mimic or create materials with only like math and nodes and noises and stuff, and the other ones, like all of the different things about Arnold, right? Like displacement maps, volume things. We can talk about like the shaders. I don't think we need a premium course for that. We can talk about like some of the cool specific shaders that we have inside of Arnold in the next couple of videos. So I'll keep that in mind. Actually, let me get my sticky note thing right here so that I can Arnold notes and materials, because I think that's something that could be really helpful for all of you guys. Let's see. How about doing a course on rigging weapons and other hard surface props like cars and sky, flying cars, tanks, etc. And then there are a few courses in rig hard surface for us. Yeah, we can do that. I'll write that down. So rigging hard surface things. I think that's a cool one. It's not that difficult. It's not that difficult to rig hard surface things. Like if you take the basic rigging course and you do the crane thing, that teaches the basics. Like you could extrapolate that to a lot of different things. Of course, there are a couple of things that we would need to cover, more specific elements and stuff. But yeah, it's pretty cool. Sigma says they use plugins, sir, for cloth. Yeah. There's plugins and there's softwares. Like one of the best like cloth simulation softwares out there is Marvelous Designer. You guys probably have seen this one. This one's it's really good. A lot of people only use it for like sculpting. Like they would do like the basic and then bring into ZBrush and do and make it work. But it can actually work as an animation tool. Like you can animate a character, bring the animation into Marvelous Designer, simulate the cloth, and then export the cloth back into Maya or your preferred software to do the final render. So yes, I know that there are others, but Bifrost is really, really powerful. Right now, I think my settings are the ones that are messing this thing up, because we should be able to get something fairly fast. And if it's not the settings, then it's probably my computer that's a little bit slow on the computing side of things. And Kur says, do you have any tips on reducing the size of Unreal Engine itself and the files I'll make? Even small files are like 500 megabytes. No, unfortunately, Unreal, especially when you're working on a project, like when you're building things, it's really, really heavy. Like right now, we're working on a project for a local museum here, very famous, called Museo del Desierto. And the project itself, it's 10 gigabytes, the one that we're working on right now. But when we compile it for deployment, it's only like 1 gigabyte. So for some reason, Unreal needs a lot of things to work, and then once it's ready and you compile and package everything, it's really small. So if the game or whatever you're doing, it's really, really heavy, try doing a packaging, like try packaging it for the final platform. And if you see that's still a little bit too heavy, you need to check your model, like poly count, your texture size. Textures tend to like really bring the size up. Music sometimes as well. So yeah, let's see. Gursimran says, I feel sculpting very hard. Some students ask how to overcome this fear from students. I also need stylized character course in Maya, like Tinkerbell character. Tinkerbell, okay. Well, I mean, nowadays, it's gonna be really difficult to find like this kind of workflow for Maya, because most of the characters are done in ZBrush. Like even characters like this one, you would do them in ZBrush. The only reason you would bring them into Maya is for like proper like face topology and animation. But even characters like this, I would definitely sculpt them in ZBrush. It's a lot easier. But yeah. How would you like what would my best advice? See, ZBrush is one of those softwares that clicks at different times for people. With Maya, whenever I'm teaching like Maya, modeling, texturing, or even Substance Painter, stuff like that, I find it a little bit easier to teach sometimes because I can show you guys like step 1, step 2, step 3, and if you follow the steps properly, you follow the same numbers that I have and everything, you're gonna get a very similar result or the same result. With ZBrush, it's not possible because I can't tell you like how hard I'm pressing on the pen and stuff like that. So it is one of those things that you need to practice. I think the best advice that I can give you is practice. Like tell students to practice because they need to understand ZBrush. Like it needs to be on their brain. Like they need to be part of the software, if you wish. And it's really complicated. For me, when I first learned ZBrush, that was back in 2011. And I learned ZBrush, and then I stopped learning. Like they taught me ZBrush in like 2 weeks. I hated it. I stopped using it. And then 6 months later, I was like, I want to learn it again. Like I know I'm gonna need it, so I'm gonna learn it. And I started practicing every day. I was doing a quick sculpt every day. Horrible quick sculpts. I have a couple of them over here, but I don't want to bring them up right now. So just quick sculpts to practice. And after a while, it started clicking. I started getting it. I started understanding. Of course, like courses and tutorials are always helpful, but you need to practice. With ZBrush and with sculpting, it's all about practice. Encore says, I love your tutorials, much love. Thank you, my friend. Swapnanil asks, can we make good cloths in Maya too? Yes, I'll add that to the list. Actually, one of the things I want to do is like create like a t-shirt, like a basic t-shirt or like pants instead of Maya with Bifrost. I'm pretty sure we should be able to do it. It's not going to be as simple as in Marvelous Designer because there are different architectures, but we can do it. Anchor says, I'm not making a game. I just want to make just a render because I have heard Unreal looks better than Marmoset. Yes, Unreal can look better than Marmoset. It needs a lot of tweaking though. Like it's a little bit. It's not as artist friendly as Marmoset. You can get amazing renders with Marmoset. I've shown like most of the ones that I show in the channel are in Marmoset. So if there's like a super specific thing that you need to do and that you need Unreal for, then yes, it will be, and it will be a little bit heavy, but it will work, right? If not, Marmoset can do great renders, and Blender can do great renders as well. Like Alejandro has been showing me some really cool stuff about Blender, and there's some really cool stuff there that you can actually use as well. On the course that he just released, there's a rendering section, and he shows eaves and cycles, and both of them are really powerful as well. Wafi Mardini asks, is sculpting with ZBrush on Huion or Cintiq better than pen tablet? So I did a review a couple of weeks ago. I just got myself a Huion. It's let me see if I can show it to you guys. There we go. It's this one right here. So it's a pen tablet display. I got the 16-inch one because that's the only one that I could fit on my desk right now, and it is really nice. I've been using traditional pen displays or pen tablets for 10 years. My first one was like a small little Wacom tablet, and then I changed to like a nicer Wacom tablet, but it was not a screen one. It's really nice. If you can afford it and you're serious about like 3D and you're gonna be using it for quite a bit, I do recommend the upgrade. It's a really cool tool, and it does like I've seen improvements on my accuracy on the lines, on the traces, because you're seeing the model straight on the screen. So it's a good one. I am using this. It's a Huion. I've heard that XP pens are also good. So yeah, just personal recommendation. Ronak says, hey Abraham, how you doing? Well, how you remember me? Last stream I asked you to do a video on how to choose project for showreel. Oh, I haven't done that one? Really? Huh. I owe you one. So let's do it right now. Quick little tips on how to choose a project. So you tell me, what do you want to choose? Character, vehicle, prop, environment? Like, let's say you're gonna choose a project. Which of those topics are you gonna pick? Let me know, and we'll do it. We'll do it. Sigma, thank you, Sigma, thank you. I love making videos for you guys. The community has been growing. We're almost at 19,000 subscribers, by the way, guys. We're really close. We're about like 80 or shy or something. So if you have friends that haven't subscribed to the channel, tell them to help us. Hard surface. Okay, Ronak says, let's say we want to do like hard surface stuff. First thing I would do is I would jump into ArtStation, and I would go into the categories that they have right here. I would select 2D, and I would start exploring like what specific part of hard surface I want to do. Let's say I want to do like a gun or something. So there we go, hard surface. So if you go hard surface and you go 2D, you're gonna see concept arts. And there's a couple of things that you need to try and aim for when looking for a concept art. First, I strongly recommend that you don't do something that's super famous. So if you see this weapon right here, which is really cool from Call of Duty Mobile, if someone has already done that weapon, I don't do it, because you're gonna be competing, like your artwork is gonna be competing against that artwork, and if you're not winning, then you're just shooting yourself on the foot. So first, make sure that you grab something that has not been done, okay, or at least it's a little bit obscure. So don't try to do like the Halo pistol or the Gears of War Lancer or something that's super common. Try to go for something a little bit more obscure, so that it's a little bit more interesting to see. The second thing that you need to look for is make sure you don't pick a concept that's very abstract, like this one right here. Like I've had students like show me this whenever we're picking things, and they're like, yes, I want to do this car right here. It's like, well, first of all, it's already 3D, it seems. Yeah, it's already 3D. So I'll be like, the problem is we don't have a front view, we don't have a side view, we don't even have like a beauty shot. It's just the object on the scene. It's just a concept. So it's very difficult to get information out of that concept. Something like this as well. Like, yes, it's a very cool shoulder, but there are a lot of things that are obscure. Could we model it? Yes, but it's gonna require a little bit more work. So try to go for clear concepts that are like nice and well placed, right? Well lit, well rendered. Like this sort of stuff, it's great. Like I mean, this is a little bit not, these are not as complex as I would like, but they're great. Like the presentation is okay, and this is what we would like. So first advice, something that's not as known or well known. Second advice, make sure it's clear. The concept should be clear. And third advice, which I think is probably the most important advice whenever you're picking a concept, pick something on your level, okay? Everyone's on a different level. If you're just starting, you're a beginner. If you've been doing this for a couple of years, you're an intermediate artist. If you're already working but you're not really good at hard surface, you might be a beginner at hard surface. Even if you're doing this for 10 years, in my case, for instance, with like Bifrost, if someone asks me, hey, can you do an explosion? Yes, I'll try to do an explosion, but I'll start doing like a small flame first, and then I'll do like a nuclear explosion because I'm a beginner at VFX. I'm not really well prepared to teach or do that kind of stuff because that's not my expertise, right? So if you're just beginning with like hard surface and you're like, oh yes, I want to do, I don't know, this guy right here. Oh, it's a complex shape. It's really cool. It's a nice element, but it's a really, really complex element. If you really like the artist, always look at his page. Like there will be more stuff usually on the artist page, and be like, okay, maybe I'm not ready for that kind of concept, but what about doing something like this? Maybe we can do one of the little guns, or like this one right here, which has like simpler shapes. So pick something that's up to your level. And the third one, we talked about this on the one of the first videos about generating with the SMART method. Pick something that you're gonna be able to finish, because again, sometimes we go really, really like ambitious and be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna do all of the guns. No, don't do all of the guns. Do one. Then if you are still like, you still have the motivation, do more of them. But don't try to like eat the whole world and then fail at that. Try to go for like a really nice, achievable and functional goal for yourself. I think that would be my best advice, my friend. Hopefully I answer your question, and don't worry, I'll keep that in mind in case we need to like go a little bit deeper. Actually no, let's write it down. I'm gonna say how to pick a concept. It's gonna be one of our next videos. And how to start a project. Like what are the things that you need to study from that concept to really get the most out of it. How to start a project. There we go. Anchor says, I use Eve and Cycles, but I prefer Marmoset and Arnold. Okay, yeah. I mean, I think once you're really proficient with any render, you can get the same result on most of them, or a really, really close one. If there are like specific things that you like about one render compared to another one, try to look how to do that thing that you want on the render that you already know. Usually there will be a method, and it saves a little bit more time in production because you don't need to learn a whole new pipeline. But yeah, that's a great question. Rochelle says, do you have a course on creating game-ready props? No, we don't have one about specific gaming props, but we do have the stylized soldier course, which does a little bit of ZBrush, and he has a lot of props, so I do show how to model and retopologize a lot of those props, because that's a game-ready character. So if you want to learn about like a whole pipeline, that one's really good. The one with the soldier, the stylized character creation, I think it's called. Wilfred asks, is it good to post after sculpt or sculpt with post? It depends. If it's production, always post after sculpt so that you can rig it without the post and you can present it on a good render with the post. If it's for 3D printing, whatever works better for you. Like if you find it easier to sculpt the character on a specific pose, then sculpting it on the post, it's cool. But if it's like, if you're just gonna, if it all depends on what the end result will be. Usually if it's for production, you want to have a T-post. If it's for concept art or for 3D printing, you can post it at any point in the process. Gursimran asks, what do you recommend? What would be the first job for freshers in 3D? I guess you mean like a beginner 3D artist, or like someone who's already like prepared and ready to get his first job. It depends on how much time you study for 3D. When I started 3D in 2011, I took a course, like a 3-month course, like a really intensive course, where they showed me like the whole process. I knew nothing, and they showed me like Maya, Photoshop, ZBrush, After Effects, like a little bit of everything. And I was able to get a job back then at the studio, doing like basic props. Like I was doing like benches and baskets and boxes and treasure chests and stuff like that. Just very basic modeling and UVs, and someone else was texturing them. So if you want to aim for that kind of job, then you only need like a basic understanding of the 3D pipeline. After that, I went to college, or it's not, it is a college, but I didn't take the full degree. It was 3 years of study, and I was really prepared when I exited the course, or when I graduated. So at that point, I was able to get a job at a nice studio doing like the full production pipeline. So it depends on how well prepared you are, because it's not the same someone who took a course, a 3-month course, and someone who took a 3-year degree, right? So depending on where you are after you finish your studies, that's the kind of job that you're gonna be able to aim for. Let's see. Sincerely yours says, does Maya have a non-destructive vertex movement tool on the surface like tweak tool in soft image? Non-destructive vertex movement tool? What do you mean? I mean, we have the slide edge. I'm not sure if that's what you mean. Like here on mesh tools, there's this slide edge that you can move this thing without like destroying the curvature. I don't know if that's what you mean by non-destructive. But yeah, like so usually other softwares, like every software has like particular or specific tools that are really good for that software, and that you won't find as easy in other softwares. Bishal, hello my friend. Alan says, where I live, for junior 3D artists, most of the companies ask only 3D Studio Max and V-Ray, but I studied Maya and Arnold. I heard both softwares are kind of similar. Would you advise the switch? If those are the only ones that are hiring where you are, yes, switch like now, because you want to get the job, right? When switching from one software to another, I find it relatively easy once you're really good at one of them, because it's like learning a language that's similar to it. In Mexico, for instance, we have Spanish, right? And Spanish, Portuguese, and Italian are very similar. So if you talk in Spanish to an Italian guy and he answers in Italian, usually you're able to get like certain words and understand like the concepts. Portuguese is even easier. Like when I've talked to Brazilian people and they just like talk in Portuguese and I talk in Spanish and we understand like perfectly what we meant. So that's usually how it happens. So if you already know Arnold, it should be fairly easy to switch to V-Ray, because you only need to like understand how they call things in the software and jump from one to another. Navigation and shortcuts, that's one of the things that usually like breaks people. Like for me, it was very difficult at first with Blender, like understanding how to move things around. But once you get the hang of it, it's relatively simple because the tools are the same. So I can do one model inside of Maya, or I can do it in Blender. Right now, I can do it faster in Maya, of course. Sometimes these companies also allow you to work on the software that you know and export everything to the software that they use. So it's a matter of also like talking and discussing things. But yeah, if those are the only two things that people are hiring where you are, then I do recommend that you do the switch. Ronak says, before applying anywhere, how much assets should we have in our art station? When I graduated, they recommended having 10 pieces. Like 10 really good pieces should open many doors for you. Like if they see that you have a wide range, like again 10 pieces showing that you know what you're doing, that's usually more than enough. Like 1 or 2 pieces, that's too few. 20 or 30 pieces with low quality, that's also not good. So it's better to have like 10 really good pieces. Vishal, so I'm following your lighthouse tutorial. When are you gonna finish it? Hopefully soon. We had to, or we didn't had to. We decided that it would be a good idea to have Alejandro help with the YouTube channel as well. So while he is doing that, I'm also doing some of the premium courses. So every now and then, I'll probably try to do 1 video a week at least to move on the lighthouse, because yeah, we really need to finish that one. Anchor says, if sometimes has a lot of shadow artifacts, extruding the objects to reduce it, but there will always be a lot of shadow artifacts. Yeah. If any real-time rendering will have issues with the shadows. That's the catch. That's why Marmoset with the new ray tracing feature, really cool. Is there any way to straighten the edge in Maya 2022? What do you mean by straight an edge? Extrude an edge? Like, you can extrude an edge. That's just extrusion and that's it. It's a bad edge because that's a non-manifold geometry, so you shouldn't do that. If you want to straighten it, like flatten it, you can just scale it, and that will straighten the whole thing. Yeah, I'm not sure what else you mean. Like if your vertices are like slightly skewed and stuff, like to straighten it like fast. I don't know, like I don't think we have like a straight and tool edge or something. We have the average vertices. No, I mean the easiest way is just to scale it on the axis that you're going for. Yeah, that's what. Like if I want to scale this, just go into the R key, which is a scale button, and then just scale it on the plane that you're that you want to work. It might be tricky though when the thing is skewed, right? Like if the whole object is like this, then yeah, it won't be as easy. I mean, you can try using like component or relative or axis or just like modify the pivot point. It might be a little bit more difficult, but like to get to this position, you probably did something wrong in the modeling process. That's not very common. Kiran says, hi, I'm from India. How to get job in the US? Okay, so that's a big question, and I think everyone should be aware of this. There's two types of jobs in the industry. You have your on-site job and you have your freelance job or like remote job. And well, actually like on-site, remote, and then freelance, okay? On-site means that you're gonna go to the studio. And I'm gonna be honest with you, it is difficult for someone outside of the US to get an on-site job on the US. You need to be really good, like top guy to get there. And it usually takes years of experience. Like I have a friend of mine on school. He had 15 years of experience before he got his first job at the studio in the United States that were willing to give him his like the passport, the visa, the working visa, because that's the problem. Like studios in the United States, they have the option to hire someone from abroad and do the visa stuff and do a lot of like paperwork, or just hire someone from the United States and that's it. And there's a lot of people that in the United States that are really good. So it is difficult. You're gonna have to be really good, or have a lot of experience, or have a contact, of course. However, a remote job is possible. There are a lot of people working remotely from their homes or from another like satellite studio in other places. That's another option. And finally, freelance. Again, if you're good, you might get contacts to do some freelance work. And when you do freelance work, it's just a matter of like sending the work and that's it. I usually work as a freelance artist, so that's the kind of contracts that I get. And the best way to get freelance work is, one, get your name out there, so your portfolio, your social media and stuff, and apply. Like just send your curriculum to any student that's willing to do freelance work, and you will get a shot, of course. But the portfolio is probably the best thing that you can do. Sigma says, is the environment studio friendly, or they keep shouting at you to submit the work? Divyang. Oh, he's asking Divyang. You're asking Divyang, right? I think you're asking Divyang. How much time should we aim to finish an asset from scratch? That's a great question. So, of course, it all depends, right? Because I think it was Leonardo da Vinci that said the phrase that goes something like, an artwork is never finished, it's just abandoned. So you could keep working on something all the way until it's like perfect, right? But there's usually timelines. So whenever you're in a project, what usually happens is you're gonna be given a time frame. So for instance, I'm gonna give you a very simple example. We had to do a dinosaur egg for the museum that I'm talking about, and I told one of my artists, model an egg. How long should this take? 5 minutes. Like he shouldn't spend more than 5 minutes doing an egg, right? So if he spends an hour, there's something wrong. He's losing time, and that's not good. But I also told like another artist to do like a sci-fi capsule. She was like, hey, I need you to model something like this. And I gave her 2 hours. It's like, you have 2 hours to do something like this. Just a model. No textures, no nothing. Just a model. And it wasn't as complex as this one. It was probably a little bit more like, I don't know, like this one right here. So you need to kind of develop that skill to know how long something should take. But the more complex an asset will take, well, of course, the longer it will be. So just by looking at it. So if you look for like a concept art props, like this is a good exercise. Just look at a concept and say like, okay, how long would it take me to model this thing right here? I would say like if I wanted to do it like nicely, probably like 8 hours. Like to model, texture, and do a little bit of sculpting, probably like 6 to 8 hours for the whole thing. But maybe something like this, I can do that in like an hour, maybe like an hour and a half. So try to estimate how long it will take take a look at how long like big names do it. Like if you see a time lapse from someone doing a character, you can see that usually a character takes like 40 hours. That's usually the range. So it all depends. It all depends on the concept, but yeah, it's a good idea to get that sort of like to understand the time frame. If the object has curvature, you can do D, change the pivot, and then scale it to flat. Yes, you can totally do that. Can you do a video especially on baking? I think we've done one before, but I'll add it to the list. Baking where? Substance Painter or Marmoset? We've done both, I think. Baking. Who made the photoreal old guy in the thumbnail? That was someone else. That was not me. Photoreal Nexttut. Sculpting likeness is the tutorial, I think. There we go. Victor Yamakado. Victor Yamakado was the artist responsible for this. So here in the Nexttut team, we have artists that are kind of like full-time, such as myself, that I'm constantly doing a little bit more tutorials. And we also have like invited artists that help us with 1 or 2 tutorials. So Victor Yamakado was the one that did this one right here, which you can get, by the way, on the links below, or this one's Udemy and Skillshare if you guys want to check it out. Yes, Igor Simran. That's exactly one of the biggest problems, and that's one big problem that I have here with my students in university. Like they're in college, they're studying to do this as for a living, and they for some reason lose motivation and they don't want to do it anymore. So this advice is one that I should take for myself for other areas of my life. But motivation will only get you so far. What you need is discipline, and discipline is sitting down on your computer and doing the job even when you don't want to. Okay, so sometimes you just don't feel like it. Sometimes you're tired. Sometimes you're demotivated because you can't get it to work. Like you guys have no idea. I'll show you here. I'll show you. When I do the premium courses, guys, it's not always on the first take. Like, take a look at how many videos I have here. Like, all of this ones right here. It's the same, and the same, and the same. And trying again, and again. And sometimes it doesn't work. And sometimes the tool crashes. And sometimes I need to start again. Or sometimes I just don't like the way I'm explaining it. And I just stop the video and start again, and again, and again. Until I like it. Until the quality is there. So that's not motivation, because I'm not motivated anytime I need to do it again. I'm just disciplined because I need to do it right. Okay, so it's just something that's more about human nature and your own like mindset rather than tools. It's more about how you approach problems in your life. So yeah, any more questions, guys? We're running. Well, it's not that we're running out of time, but it's quite late over here. It's almost 12. It's almost midnight, and I have classes tomorrow for my students. So I'm probably gonna be cutting the live stream shortly. But are there any more questions that you might wanna ask? Okay, Divyang is asking, what are the main keys for semi-realistic props? Do you mean stylized props, like this sort of stuff? Semi-realistic props or like Blizzard style props, like League of Legends style props, I recommend beveling. Bevels are really important for those like sort of cartoony shapes. Asymmetry is super important. Like usually these props, as you can see, they are not perfectly symmetrical. Like you're gonna have a couple tiles like going a little bit more over here, more over there, and that sort of change on the symmetry, on the silhouette of the object will be very important. Silhouette is also very important. See how the silhouette is never straight, it always has like curves and arcs and stuff. That's also really important to keep the whole thing like nicer. Texture wise, you need to keep flat colors and keep as low or like high roughnesses on the metal, so things don't shine as natural as they normally would. Can you make a velvet material in Arnold? Yes. I'm not sure if I can do it fast enough though. Let's give it a go. So there is one slider in Arnold. So the first thing you need for any material to look good, it's gonna be our final demo tonight. The first thing you need for any material to look good is of course an HDR. right? So we definitely need some sort of HDR so that it gets a nice result. And then on the Arnold materials, the color of the object will probably be like dark red, right? Like velvety. And if we take a render right now, it will just look like a flat red plane, right? Let's see how this looks. Yes, Ronak, my email, and for anyone that might have a question, sometimes I can't answer like super fast, but this is my email. I do offer, I'm not sure if I've mentioned this before, but I do offer private sessions for students that want like a one-on-one session where I teach you strategies and things with your projects. That's also available. In case you want something, just check it right here. Oh, well, I'll give you guys a couple seconds to write this down. So it's criticalhitacademy@gmail.com. That's my email. Okay, I'm gonna close this. Yes, I can do this. So there we go. So right now this is just a basic plastic. There's one which is called sheen, and as you can see, the sheen slider here will give it this sort of like velvety look. And of course, depending on how much or how little sheen you add, you're gonna change the effect. And you can change the color of the sheen as well. So we do like, let's go for like a dark red. And if we increase this, you can see that we get this sort of like velvety effect. The roughness of this sheen will also be determined by this slider. And yeah, usually velvet has this like white sheen. Let's go for like pinkish, so like this effect. There we go. And you definitely want to decrease or increase the roughness of the specular as well, and that's gonna give you this sort of like velvety look. That's it. If you wanna know more about the one-on-one sessions, Ronak, send me an email again on this one right here, and I'll let you on the specifics. I don't have a lot of slots available because I do have other things to attend to, but yeah, we can talk about that one on the through email. So that's my contact. Any job related things, you can talk to me over there. And yeah, so Anchor, this is it. That's the velvety material. That's all you need to do. If you want, you can also add a little bit of subsurface. You're gonna turn off the color, of course, because it's either subsurface or color. So in the subsurface, we're gonna have the same like sort of like wine color, and subsurface will increase the sort of like velvety effect. So this will make the material more complex, and as you can see, a little bit more noisy. But you can get this very, very nice like fuzzy effect. If you want to get like the actual fuzz, you're gonna have to use something like action or something to get like the little hairs on the element. But this is like sort of like the velvety element. Yes, and we also have all of these guys right here. So presets, and then we go here. That should be velvet, replace, and there we go. Let's see how it's using sheen. That's the secret. So that's the thing, like there's a lot of presets out there. I'm not against presets, like use as many presets as you guys want, but always understand why the presets are doing what they're doing. So as you can see, why is this one working? Because we have the sheen. So there we go. Usually it's like you know, when you go to the doctor and you pay for the consult. So I usually do it like that. Some people like to have like several sessions. Some people like to have just one session. Some people like to schedule one session every like 2-3 months to have like a follow-up. So it all depends on how you guys want to do it, but it is per session. So that's it, guys. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you for being here. I know some of you it's very late where you are. For me, it is a little bit late. We'll do one more live stream later, or next month. Maybe we'll do like a special live stream before the end of the month if we see that there's a good response. And you know the drill. Make sure to like, share, subscribe. This video will be available in the next couple hours. I think it just like uploads itself automatically. And yeah, make sure to keep on commenting. Comments are probably like, I love reading comments more than I like the likes. Like likes are cool and everything, but I like reading your comments because that's how I know what things to prepare for you guys, what things you guys want to learn, what other methods should I teach and stuff like that. So make sure to leave comments, make sure to ask questions. I love all of that interaction. I hope everyone has a good day, a good night, doesn't matter where you are in the world. And yeah, that's it, guys. I'll see you back on the next one. Bye-bye.